Excellencies, Executive Secretary, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, I warmly welcome you to our panel discussion on EU CTBTO Cooperation in Action. My name is Elena Toma. I am a first counselor at the delegation of the European Union to international organizations in Vienna, and I have the pleasure and privilege to moderate this panel. As you know, promoting the universalization and entry into force of the CTBT is a top priority for the European Union, in line with its non-proliferation and disarmament policies and objectives. The EU is supporting the CTBT and its organization both politically and financially. In the framework of the EU strategy against the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, the EU has provided voluntary contributions to the CTBTO in order to strengthen its monitoring and verification capabilities. Today, with the help of our distinguished panelists, we will have the opportunity to present to you concrete examples of what the European Union is actually doing in support of the CTBT and in cooperation with the organization. Over the next hour or so, our esteemed panelists, Ambassador Cortese, Mr. Lebré, Ms. Cele, Ms. Retnoashi, and Mr. Lopez, will share with us their personal experience with the CTBTO. In particular, how the European Union's support to the CTBTO has benefited them, their countries, the organization, and non-proliferation and disarmament at large. Before we commence our panel discussion, I would like to invite the head of the EU delegation to international organizations in Vienna, Ambassador Stefan Clement, to deliver opening remarks. Ambassador Clement, please join us on stage.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Many thanks to all of you for being here, and especially, of course, to the Executive Secretary, Robert Floyd, and of course to all the distinguished panelists for joining us here today. Let me start maybe by stressing how much the EU values the work of the CTBTO for its crucial role in the area of non-proliferation and disarmament, but also in the field of civil and scientific applications. As you know, the EU has traditionally been a steadfast supporter of the CTBT, both politically and financially. In particular, in these turbulent times when multilateralism is under severe strain and international rules are being challenged and even gravely violated, the CTBT is an important element of the global disarmament and non-proliferation architecture, which contributes to our collective security. Therefore, promoting the universalization of the CTBT and its entry into force is a political imperative for the EU and a good example of our continued efforts to strengthen the rules-based international system. All EU member states have ratified the treaty, and we urge others, in particular the remaining Annex II states, to follow suit without any precondition or further delay. But of course, also pending entry into force of the treaty, we expect all states to abide by the moratorium on nuclear weapon tests, explosions, and to refrain from any other action contrary to the object and purpose of the treaty. Today, I will focus my remarks on the European Union's standpoint on the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, in particular on its contribution to the development of the international monitoring system and to capacity building activities of the CTBTO. Of course, although the ultimate goal of bringing the treaty into force has not yet been achieved, the CTBTO has provided the world with a truly global, high-tech monitoring system for nuclear explosions, something that no single country alone would be able to do. The fact that the international monitoring system is nearing completion is an extremely positive development. To make best use of our collective investment, the EU advocates fully exploiting the benefits of civil and scientific application of IMS data and supports capacity building for developing countries. From disaster early warning to climate change, tsunami and volcanic ash cloud warning, scientific involvement in developing this effective and unique system has been impressive. About 15% of international monitoring system stations and 32% of radionuclide labs are hosted by member states of the European Union. It is our conviction that the scientific and technological activities undertaken by the organization, and more broadly the cooperation with the scientific community, are essential to achieve the CTBT's universalization, to enhance the CTBTO's verification regime, and to enable CTBTO member states to reap the full benefits of the civil and scientific application of monitoring data. For all these reasons, the EU has supported the CTBTO since the very beginning and will continue to do so. This is practically done in a number of ways. Regular contributions from EU member states to the CTBTO comprise roughly 40% of the organization's total annual budget. In addition, since 2006, the EU has provided close to 29 million euros of voluntary funds to the CTBTO. This has been done through 8 dedicated EU decisions in support of the CTBTO from 2006 to 2018. Before the end of this year, we expect to adopt Council Decision number 9, providing for further voluntary contribution to the CTBTO. Through these voluntary contributions, the EU supports several complex activities to strengthen the CTBT verification and monitoring regimes, such as, I will give you a few examples, the sustainment of certified auxiliary seismic stations, part of the international monitoring system, the development of noble gas sampling systems through study of materials for improved absorption of xenon, continuation of the radio xenon background measurement campaigns in different regions of the world, support to the Technical Experts Support Program, formerly known as the pilot projects, which aims both at maximizing engagement of developing countries with the Preparatory Commission, as well as at increasing knowledge of CTBTO's verification technologies through greater involvement of national experts. The scientific evaluation of the increase in resolution for atmospheric transport modeling tools, the development of new software for the National Data Center in a Box, which is a unique and valuable tool for capacity building that enables all NDCs to independently evaluate IDC products, enhancing the on-site inspection noble gas processing and detection, enhancing the automatic processing and integration capabilities in seismic, hydroacoustic, and infrasound systems. Last but not least, the EU is also a staunch supporter of the CTBTO Youth Group that was established to promote the treaty among younger generations, raise public awareness, and educate youth on the need to ban nuclear testing. As an example, in 2022, the EU allocated more than 200,000 euros to finance the Citizen Journalism Academy, which aims at strengthening the communication and social media skills of youth group members. Let me conclude, ladies and gentlemen, by expressing our special appreciation to the scientific community for its important contribution to our efforts to promote the CTBT's universalization and entry into force. It is important to maintain and enhance our cooperation and synergies. And from my side, I can assure you the EU's continued engagement and support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Clement, for your strong message of support to the CTBTO. As you mentioned, the EU has supported the CTBTO since the very beginning and will continue to do so. Now, the practical ways through which this support is manifested will be discussed with our panelists. I'd like to start with His Excellency Ambassador Alessandro Cortese, who is currently the permanent representative of Italy to the international organizations in Vienna. Ambassador Cortese is a seasoned diplomat who's long served Italy's foreign service. He's held numerous positions, including as Deputy Director General for Political Affairs and Principal Director for Security at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Head of the Press Department and Spokesperson of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Permanent Representative of Italy to the Political and Security Committee of the European Union. As an Article 14 co-coordinator since 2021, his role has been crucial in advancing the efforts for the CTBT's entry into force. With that introduction, Ambassador Cortese, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the too kind introduction, including the seasoned, which is true. Unfortunately, it's true. But anyway, dear Executive Secretary, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really very pleased to be here today, and also to underscore a little bit the significance and the relevance of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, and the role also of the member states and of the European Union within the CTBTO. So I thank you for the invitation. I have to say from the outset that I listened carefully to this morning opening ceremony, all the speeches, and also the panels, y compris celui sur la francophonie. So therefore, one good thing is that I'm not going to say anything revolutionary or very new, but what I'm trying to do is to put the CTBTO into the perspective of Italy, which on the one hand is a state party to the CTBTO, but on the other hand we are a proud founding member of the European Union, I remind you also that when we entered what was the European Community, there were 6 member states. Now we are 27, correct? 27. Used to be 28, but unfortunately, since we are in Tour de France time, one left the peloton, and my joke is maybe we're going too fast. but joking aside, I must say that in the current environment where world security is a little bit at stake, I mean, we know we do a lot of discussions on several issues which are quite worrying. I regularly state in the CTBT meetings, and forgive me for that, to repeat it, that the CTBT, which is now open to signature for 27 years, remains a cornerstone of the nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation architecture, and is more important because of the current situation. And I remind that the treaty's strong legitimacy and vital importance for our collective security lies, as you know, of course, on UN Security Council Resolution 2310, and every year we recall the importance of the treaty with the UN General Assembly resolution. And this is not a minor issue. So every 2 years, the whole international community, together in a resolution of the General Assembly, reminds how important is this treaty for all of us. Therefore, I can say, I reiterate, how important it is for my country the treaty's verification regime, as well as our strong support for any initiative aimed at facilitating and promoting its full implementation. Achieving in full the objectives of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and making it binding is a top priority for Italy, although this remains, needless to say, a very ambitious accomplishment. In fact, as everybody here is well aware of, the entry into force of the treaty is subject to the ratification of all 44 states listed in the so-called Annex 2. Today, 8 of these states have still to make this step, and of course, Italy hopes and works in order for this to happen as soon as possible. Good news, which was reminded this morning by the Executive Director, is that a general moratorium on nuclear tests has been in place de facto since the establishment of the treaty. And this morning was recalled that before the treaty, there were over 2,000 nuclear tests, and after there was only one, actually after in this century there was only one, and we know who did it. But, so only one, but it's quite a change. And so this is, I think, should be underlined. How this was a result which is really amazing. Of course, only by attaining a globally recognized binding norm will the world be guarded from the high risk of nuclear tests and ultimately from nuclear proliferation. To reach this goal, of course, we must redouble our commitment, and this is the reason why the treaty itself foresees at Article 14 the organization every 2 years of a ministerial conference in New York during the General Assembly, which is co-chaired by 2 ratifying states. And this is why I'm here, because Italy, together with South Africa, are the current co-chairs of this conference. Because of course next September with the new ministerial meeting, the new co-chair will take their position, if you want, and luckily I'm very happy that at the last conference we managed to have a consensus of them. Therefore, just to explain a little bit, Italy and South Africa permanent mission in Vienna have worked hand in hand in supporting, of course, number one, the Executive Secretary in his tireless efforts, and with all the success you achieved in enlarging the group. I'm not going to repeat the numbers because everybody said that twice, but it was significantly enhanced the number of signatories and of ratifications. And we have to say that was an excellent result, but I also want to say that this also thanks to Italy's and South Africa commitment. We did several démarches, both here and in capitals, in order to encourage these kind of things that then you, with your visits, you managed to close. Today, this morning, we heard also the commitments by South Sudan and Somalia. So this is, for us, is very important that at the end of our biennium, we can show that there were some good results, and we are very proud to say that they were there. A point we did as co-chair, maybe might be of interest, we managed, as Italy, as member of the G7, we managed to put a certain language on the CTBTO, on the CTBT, in the ministerial statement of the G7, which was a success. We did it for 2 years in a row. And next year, Italy will be the chair of the G7. So I hope that we'll do it without my control, if you want, because alone. But certainly we'll be very committed also on this particular dossier during our year of presidency of the G7. Okay, this, I want to skip the numbers because, as I said, this was said several times and much more clearly from other speakers earlier on. Yes, and of course, Italy, as I said, is also a member of the European Union, and of course, we always supported any initiative by the European Union to contribute to all the aspects, the political ones, but also the program technical improvement and projects. And of course, now we are expecting the EU Council to adopt the decision number 9, I'm told, which provides for further voluntary contribution to the CTBT before the end of this year. And just to make a point, the money which will be put comes also from the member states. So, in a way, is a further contribution to the bilateral one, even though it's the Commission in charge. Of course, we fully support. We heard a lot today about the monitoring system, the stations. This is very important. We need to keep them working or even improving them technically, as you said this morning. and Italy is also helping on that. Our implementing agency is also quite active in this endeavor. In conclusion, I'm confident, and then I come to today's event, that the Science and Technology Conference, and I want to congratulate before I finish, because it's really magnificent. I mean, everybody spoke about the floor, but it's still there, but it's really fantastic to have this gathering of so wonderful and very expert people in this beautiful Hofburg. So congratulations to the CBT for the organization. And I was saying that, yes, I'm confident the Science and Technology Conference and the EU active involvement in it will significantly contribute to further strengthening of the CTBTO's relationships with the scientific and research community. That is very important for the reason I said, the role of the research community in whatever the CTBTO requires. We are talking of very high-level technologies, and also the civil application and research made possible by this technology and capacity building developed within its core activities will have a further push thanks to this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Cortese. Undoubtedly, we've seen remarkable results in the past 2 years, with 7 additional ratifications and more in the pipeline. You have mentioned the Article 14 process. And we know that this entails more than the actual biennial Article 14 conference, which will take place again in New York this year. From your experience as an Article 14 coordinator, Ambassador, what more can we do to advance the CTBT's entry into force?
Yes. This is quite a difficult question because it's very banal in a way to answer. At the same time, if you are too banal, it's not a good thing. But no, I would say, no, basically, I mean, in one sentence, it needs further political commitment. And I'm talking also of the political side. The technology is not my business. And for this reason, Article 14 is very important because every 2 years reminds to all our ministers, or requires all our ministers to speak about that, which means that they have to read the papers, understand better what we are talking about. And I think it's very useful because, you know, if you take the agenda of a foreign minister, speak of a foreign minister, they have hundreds of issues to discuss, and some are extremely urgent and very serious. But when, my experience, when you explain to the minister what is involved in this CTBT, I mean, you are sure that at least in Italy, everybody says, wow, this is very good, important, let's go for it. And so this thing, and of course the resolution, as I said in my speech. But of course, we have a number of things we can do, and I must say, and again, I have to applaud the Executive Director, Rob Floyd, because he's extremely active, but it is exactly what you need, to be active, to be politically connected with the countries, particularly those which we expect, at least, that they could either sign to start the process or just complete it by ratifying it. And this must be done also to help, also on a bilateral basis. As I briefly explained, we chose together with Rob some countries in which he was particularly working on, and we did bilateral demarches in the capitals. Then I gave you the example of the G7. We put, I mean, the G7 is a restricted group, but still is quite important. we put a commitment by all the ministers and the Prime Minister of the G7, President of the G7, to, with a short sentence, but still very significant, to, in a way, to remind or recall this important instrument, which, as I said, is really one, there are many others, cornerstone of our security nowadays. And we are talking of nuclear security, so it's paramount to grant it, is even more than other securities, if I may say so, because it's vital. It's vital for everyone, for the international community, for the UN, and for all the ones who are following this process.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Cortese, and for your personal commitment to this noble cause of bringing the treaty into force. I'd now like to turn to Mr. Bruno Lebret. Since 2021, Mr. Lebret is the Nuclear Materials and Non-Proliferation Program Director at the Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission of France, CEA. A chemical engineer by education, he has held various positions in the Military Applications Division, the famous DAM, including as head of the laboratory in charge of the design and development of explosives for nuclear weapons, as well as of the engineering division. Mr. Lebret has contributed to the development of explosives detection and characterization activities in the context of counter-terrorism actions, and he has managed the EPURE project. Mr. Lebret, vous avez la parole.
Bien, merci. Alors, bon, Madame, Messieurs, Mesdames les ambassadrices et Messieurs ambassadeurs, Monsieur le secrétaire exécutif, chers participants, ça va vous permettre de vous équiper de vos casques respectifs, parce qu'en guise de prolongation du panel précédent, je remercie aussi très chaleureusement l'organisation, outre le fait d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui, de pouvoir m'exprimer également en français devant ce prestigieux auditoire. Alors, en guise d'illustration, mon intervention va concerner la suite logicielle NDC in the Box, donc, qui est une suite logicielle conçue et développée par le Commissariat à l'énergie atomique et aux énergies alternatives, donc le CEA, comme vous l'avez mentionné précédemment, et sa contribution à l'OTIS et à ses pays membres. Alors, à noter évidemment, puisque c'est le sujet du panel d'aujourd'hui, que cette contribution a été rendue possible grâce au soutien de l'Union européenne à travers différents projets de développement. Alors, qu'est-ce que c'est que cet outil? Alors déjà, rappelons que le CEA est un important contributeur à l'OTIS et ses activités en tant que centre national de données, avec des experts qui travaillent tous les jours pour analyser les données produites par l'IMS et ses stations. Alors, depuis le début, l'expérience française acquise au fil des années s'est attachée à soutenir le travail de l'OTIS, mais aussi, quelque part, de challenger notre méthode et nos outils de traitement de données avec celle du PTS, ce qui est un moyen à la fois de comparer nos approches respectives, mais également de conforter nos résultats. Alors, ceci posé, bon, il est important aussi pour la France que tous les pays signataires aient confiance dans les travaux du PTS et puissent, le cas échéant, lorsqu'ils le souhaitent, analyser les données en autonomie. Donc, c'est ce qui a été déterminant dans le développement de cette suite logicielle, encore une fois, donc grâce au financement de l'Union européenne, donc depuis les travaux dans les laboratoires du CEA, jusque dans l'utilisation aujourd'hui de l'outil. Alors, des mises à jour et des évolutions, j'y reviendrai tout à l'heure, sont régulièrement nécessaires et qui plus est, il est important également de pouvoir offrir, et nous le faisons bien volontiers, la possibilité de formation pour tous les utilisateurs dans toutes les langues des Nations Unies. Donc c'est grâce à des financements de l'Union européenne que de telles actions sont possibles, ou en tout cas peuvent être développées donc, au bénéfice de tous les États signataires. Bon, maintenant, un peu plus dans le détail, qu'est-ce que c'est que cet outil, à quoi ça sert et comment on peut s'en servir? Je l'illustrerai avec quelques exemples dans la suite de mon propos. Bon, donc c'est un outil numérique, vous l'avez compris, donc qui peut être utilisé aussi bien avec une certaine forme d'automatisme, je dirais, donc pour traiter les données de l'IMS et confirmer les analyses du PTS, mais il offre également la possibilité donc, de mener des analyses plus poussées sur un événement particulier, voire même dans un mode dit avancé, de permettre le traitement de toute donnée nationale, donc relevant évidemment des mêmes techniques de mesure que celles déployées dans l'IMS. Donc, comme je vous le disais à l'instant, donc je vais vous donner 3 exemples d'utilisation de cet outil dans des domaines très différents, donc relatifs aux différentes technologies de mesure. Donc, mon premier exemple va être relatif à l'analyse sismique. Je pense que tout le monde a en mémoire donc l'explosion qui a eu lieu à Beyrouth en août de 2020. Alors, à cette occasion, le CEA a entrepris une étude pour estimer les paramètres sources, l'énergie à l'origine de cette explosion, donc sur la base d'analyses de formes d'ondes sismiques régionales. Les données provenant des stations sismiques de l'IMS ont évidemment été exploitées dans cet exercice. Alors, des analyses empiriques ou semi-empiriques ont été menées, ont été complétées par des modélisations 3D, donc qui ont permis d'affiner les résultats. Donc cette étude, bon, que je ne vais pas développer ici évidemment devant vous, illustre la contribution à la simulation et à l'analyse du terme source réalisée avec l'outil NDC in the box. Mon deuxième exemple va concerner l'usage qu'on peut faire de l'analyse hydroacoustique. Donc cette fois-ci, je vais faire référence au tragique événement de novembre 2017 avec la disparition donc, du sous-marin San Juan de la marine argentine, donc, qui a disparu le 15 novembre 2017. Donc, cet événement a été détecté par 2 hydrophones de l'IMS, distants respectivement de 6 et 8 000 km du lieu de la disparition. Alors, l'utilisation de ces 2 seules données est faiblement contrainte, pour parler simplement, donc conduisent à de fortes incertitudes de localisation. Pour mieux interpréter les signaux, donc un tir de grenade de calibration a été réalisé par la marine argentine en décembre 2017, proche de la dernière position connue de ce sous-marin. Alors, en comparant les caractéristiques des 2 événements par analyse temporelle, spectrale, nous avons confirmé donc la nature impulsionnelle de l'événement et une analyse plus poussée par une méthode dite PMCC, Multi-Channel Correlation Method, et calculée par l'outil in the box, a permis, en prenant compte de toutes les réflexions contributrices, à très sensiblement améliorer la précision de localisation et à réduire cette incertitude de localisation d'un facteur 100 par rapport à l'utilisation seule des 2 sources que je mentionnais tout à l'heure, avec une localisation estimée in fine à moins de 3,5 km donc de la localisation effective de l'événement. Enfin, donc, 3e et dernier exemple, l'analyse infrasonore, comme vous vous en doutez. Donc, cette fois-ci, c'est un travail qui est issu d'une collaboration autour toujours de l'outil NDC in the box avec d'autres laboratoires, donc au sein d'un projet européen plus vaste, le projet ARISE, Atmospheric Dynamics Infrastructure in Europe, qui intègre les données infrasonores de l'IMS, de réseaux LIDAR et radar et satellitaires, donc pour une meilleure description de la dynamique atmosphérique. Alors l'objectif est de mieux décrire les perturbations atmosphériques, notamment dans les basses couches de la thermosphère, donc pour des applications à la prévision météorologique à moyen terme et au modèle d'évolution climatique et de sécurité civile, par exemple pour la surveillance à distance donc des volcans et d'autres phénomènes météorologiques extrêmes. Alors, les applications civiles visent donc, comme je mentionnais juste au-dessus, donc la prévision météo avec une meilleure connaissance de la stratosphère et ce qui devrait permettre d'améliorer notre capacité de prévision à l'échelle de plusieurs semaines, le changement climatique et la sécurité civile, puisque la surveillance distante par infrason est particulièrement bien adaptée à la détection automatique d'éruptions volcaniques avec, comme vous le savez également, un impact potentiel sur l'aviation civile majeure. Alors, à noter aussi que les observables infrasons sont aussi pertinentes pour la surveillance des tempêtes, ouragans et météorites. Alors, en conclusion, j'espère, à défaut de vous avoir perdu, parce que j'espère pas vous avoir convaincu des bénéfices de cette suite logicielle. Alors, ce qu'il faut, in fine, retenir de tout ça, au-delà des exemples techniques que je vous ai mentionnés, c'est que bien que, et fort heureusement, nous sommes les premiers à nous en réjouir, il n'y a que très peu d'essais nucléaires à analyser, il est quand même primordial de permettre aux États signataires et à leurs experts de s'entraîner régulièrement. Et NDC in the Box est à cet égard un bon moyen de se maintenir à niveau au sein de la communauté internationale des experts. Nous avons également vu, et cette conférence SnT 2023 est un excellent forum pour cela, que nous pouvons tirer de multiples bénéfices du régime de vérification du traité d'interdiction complète des essais. Et grâce à cette NDC in the Box, chaque État qui le souhaite donc, peut identifier et développer ses propres applications. Et évidemment, bon, je vous l'ai mentionné tout à l'heure, et c'est l'objet de ce panel, en grande partie grâce à un financement extra-budgétaire de l'Union européenne. Ben voilà ce que je pouvais vous dire aujourd'hui sur ce sujet. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Lebray, pour votre intervention. And also thank you for taking us through this fascinating journey from the actual conception of the NDC in a box software to its wide application today in so many data centers around the globe. If you allow me, since you have already provided the history and background of the development of this software, how do you see its evolution? And I'm thinking here in terms of funding needs, in terms of effectiveness, and most importantly, do you see a role for NDC in a box within the very, very important initiative of the Executive Secretary, NDCs for All?
Merci pour votre question. Alors, évidemment, il y a toujours des progrès à accomplir et des améliorations à apporter. J'espère vous en avoir convaincu par mon propos précédent. Clairement, nous sommes loin d'avoir exploité toutes les potentialités de l'outil et des développements sont entrepris chaque jour et le seront encore dans le futur. Cette conférence, et vous qui y assistez aujourd'hui, peut également être l'opportunité d'identifier d'autres applications, civiles ou scientifiques, qui pourraient bénéficier à NDC in the Box et réciproquement, et voire à y être implantées. Alors, concernant l'initiative NDC for All que vous mentionnez, bon, on est vraiment, enfin, à mon sens, au cœur de la philosophie de l'outil NDC in the Box, qui est de pouvoir permettre à tous les centres nationaux de données d'être complètement impliqués dans l'exploitation des données produites par les stations de l'IMS. Et cet outil donc, permet à chaque État signataire qui n'utilise pas encore ou n'exploite pas complètement encore les données de l'IMS d'avoir une solution que je qualifierais de clé en main, accessible et directement opérationnelle.
Thank you very much. We will follow closely the developments in the future. Our next panelist is Ms. Takalani Tsele. Ms. Tsele is currently Assistant Director of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition at the Secretariat of the South African Council for the Non-Proliferation of Weapons of Mass Destruction. She holds a PhD in physics and was acknowledged as one of the exceptional young women scientists conducting research in sub-Saharan Africa. Moreover, she received the L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science Award. Ms. Tsele, we're delighted to have you with us today. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. First, I would like to thank PTS for the invitation to come and share my experience on pilot project. I'm working for the National Authority in South Africa, which is the Non-Proliferation Secretariat. which is responsible for the CTBT-related obligations and its implementation. The European Union-funded pilot project allows participants from developing countries to attend Working Group B meetings, and I was afforded an opportunity to attend Working Group B 54 for the first time in 2020. Pilot project is the project for the participation of technical experts from developing countries in official technical meetings of the Commission. The PTS, they normally invites all state signatories, which are developing countries, to nominate technical experts possessing appropriate qualifications and experience for possible support under this project. Support for the selected experts is conditional on the availability of sufficient funding through voluntary contribution. The nominated experts are funded to participate in both Working Group B sessions, which are normally held in March and also in August. The sponsorship that was offered to me covered accommodation, return flights, daily allowance, and travel insurance. I am grateful to the funders and the PTS for facilitating this project professionally. Working Group B meeting gave a proper overview of the treaty and its requirements. The technical meetings offered insight on the current experiments, technologies, and training that are available for the technical experts. And through the technical briefings and discussions on the international monitoring systems, the international data center, and the on-site inspection, I gained a comprehensive understanding of the verification regime. And through also the successful work that the PTS is doing, I get to know about the stations that they are being installed and the upgrade of the stations and the establishment of the laboratories, as well as the data authentication. I also acquired an understanding on how South Africa can benefit from civil and scientific applications of waveform data from the international monitoring system. This assisted in my contribution to a document that the national authority adopted, which details how my country can benefit from civil and scientific applications of waveform data. During the Working Group B meeting, I met with the colleagues from our permanent mission in Vienna, as well with the PTS staff members, and discussed challenges related to the radionuclide station that is, we are in the process of establishing. We followed up on the proposal for the installation of the radionuclide station that was submitted by our institution. And the PTS staff gave guidance on the process that needs to be followed. The institution is currently busy with the procurement process of establishing the radionuclide station, the RN62, and they are in contact with the PTS. I also had discussions on infrasound station, the IS-47, and the possibility of including a seismologist on an infrasound course. We also discussed the issues with auxiliary stations. We have 2 auxiliary stations that are hosted in South Africa, so we discussed the issues concerning that and also access to previous reports on those auxiliary stations. So after the Working Group B meeting, I arranged meetings with the institutions in my country that host the station and the laboratory to discuss the outcome of the Working Group B meeting. And I share with them the advices and the suggestions from the PTS. I provided my compatriots with information on post-laboratory certification activities, and the laboratory scientists now understand what is expected of them with respect to analyzing the samples and providing the results. The radionuclide laboratory receives samples from different radionuclide stations to analyze. So I also assisted in liaising with customs to speed up the process of clearance of those samples so that the laboratory scientists can have ample time for measurements and reporting. In the margins of Working Group B meeting, I also participated in the regional group meeting, the African group, to discuss common challenges and how other African countries overcame those challenges and new proposals to issue that concern the region. I also joined the bilateral meeting with the German delegation to discuss historical information on the auxiliary stations that are hosted in my country. We also discussed the issue on maintenance and management of those auxiliary stations, and also the possibility of signing a collaboration agreement. There are CTBT-related training inventions that I have notified the experts in my country about so that they can apply. And these are the training that I only got to know more about them during the Working Group B meeting. The funding by the EU is appreciated, as I was provided with the experience I needed as I was new within the national authority and needed to understand the treaty and how all CTBT-related activities work. I encourage state signatories from developing countries to nominate scientists or experts, especially youth and female, working with data obtained from the verification system at the National Data Center or government institutes and universities who wish to participate in official technical meetings of the Commission. And this will allow them to benefit from the pilot project. It's now called Technical Expert Support Group, that seek to strengthen the universal character of the preparatory commission for the CTBTO, and also build capacity in developing and emerging countries through increased involvement of country experts in CTBTO policy-making processes, and to enhance expert capacity on CTBTO's verification technologies, civil and scientific applications. I have benefited from the EU fund. You can also benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Chele, for sharing your story with us, which I'm sure can serve as an inspiration for many young women in STEM who are now listening to our discussion. And this leads to my question to you. You mentioned the Technical Expert Support Program, which of course the EU continues to support. The CTBTO has recently launched an important mentoring program for young women in STEM. So how do you think we can raise awareness for such projects and opportunities, and how can we attract more women in STEM, in particular from the African region?
Okay, thank you for the question. Okay, I will start with the one to attract the women in STEM. In my country, we have policies and programs with special focus on women. So our government has committed to women's empowerment and achievement of gender equality. So attracting women to STEM in South Africa, it requires a multifaceted approach that addresses various barriers and promotes inclusivity. I will just share some of the strategies for attracting more women in STEM and raising awareness on opportunities that are available. They encourage early exposure. So we can promote STEM education and activities at early age, including in our schools and also community organization. We can encourage girls to participate in the science fairs, science forums, and other hands-on activities that spark their interest in STEM. There's also the role models and mentorship, where we can highlight successful women in STEM fields as role models to inspire the young girls. And we can also establish mentorship programs that are connecting female students with the working women in STEM profession. And with that, the mentors can give guidance, advice, and support to the young girls. And the industry partnership and internship programs, where we can collaborate with our industry to create the internship programs, scholarship, sponsorship opportunities, and internship programs in the industry. And we can also highlight the achievement of women in STEM through the media or awards so that we can inspire the young girls. The community outreach can also assist in our local communities to reach out to the young women through the events, the workshop, and the outreach program. The awareness in such programs as a pilot project. In South Africa, we took advantage when PTS visited the laboratory, and we organized the awareness session for PTS to present on the CTBTO activities and opportunities that are available. Collaboration with PTS is what we need to continue with the awareness sessions so that the women in STEM can be in a know-how about the projects such as pilot projects and other trainings that are offered by the CTBTO and how they can apply and also benefit from such projects. And I'm glad that the CTBTO initiated the CTBTO Youth Group Mentorship Program for Women in STEM from underrepresented countries to support early career women in STEM. So this will attract youth to be mentored at young age to be able to follow careers that will open up opportunities for them. But it also remains our duty to conduct advocacy in our countries and encourage young and women to participate in the CTBTO activities and trainings. So we can organize the outreach programs and the campaigns in our countries that are targeted to promoting STEM opportunities to women. So it can be the workshops and the conferences such as this and panel discussions to showcase the benefits and the possibilities of pursuing STEM careers. So as I mentioned before, the collaboration with schools and university to conduct the awareness programs that highlight the importance of STEM education and the diverse range of career paths available in STEM fields. So this can be done by organizing the guest lectures, the workshops, the industry visits that can expose the female students to the real-world STEM applications and role models. So the other point for awareness, we can use our online platforms and resources. We create the online platform where we share the success stories and guidance specifically tailored to women interested in STEM. So it can be through the website, the social media, and the online communities where women can connect, talk about their experiences, and seek advice. By implementing these strategies, it is possible to raise awareness among women about STEM projects and opportunities, and encouraging their participation and paving the way to increased representation in these fields. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Chele. Our next panelist is Ms. Sundari Retnoashi. Ms. Retnoashi is a Nuclear Safeguards and Fuel Management Officer at the National Research and Innovation Agency of Indonesia. She has completed the 2022-2025 CTBTO Linear Training Program for surrogate inspectors, and she participated in the CTBTO CYG Mentoring Program in 2022. We are happy to have you with us, Ms. Retnoashi. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Elena. So thank you so much for inviting me here to be a panelist for sharing my personal experience for getting involved in an on-site inspection for the CTBTO with the full support from the European Union. So basically, on-site inspection is the ultimate verification for the CTBT. And as the CTBTO is currently working to build up the OSI regime, in order to work it effectively, it needs sustainable trainings, workshop, and also like expert meeting, and also field tests in the term of OSI. So my personal experience for getting involved in on-site inspection activities for the CTBTO, it started with the CTBTO Youth Group Mentoring Program, which was being coordinated by Gender Focal Point of the CTBTO. It was being held on 2022, and it's a program for the early career women in STEM. And besides learning soft skills that they provided to us as a mentee, I specifically would like to learn about the on-site inspection from the CTBTO, because in the past, I get more involved into inspection from the safeguard in the atomic efficiency. In that case, my mentor is from OSI training section. So she gave me a lot of explanations. She gave me a lot of brief introduction about the OSI activities in the CTBTO. At the same time, it was kind of like a perfect time, because the CTBTO Youth Group Mentoring Program, it was being held like a few months before Regional Introductory Course 24 in Thailand. So she encouraged me to apply for that program, for that course, I mean. So with the support from the Permanent Mission of Indonesia, then I applied for the Regional Introductory Course 24 in Thailand. And as I got accepted for attending the event, then I start to go for the entry point for being a surrogate inspector. In the RIG 24, it's not only like a regional outreach event, but it's also kind of like entry point for the linear training program for the next generation for becoming a surrogate inspector. In the RIG 24 in Thailand, I learned about the OSI activities in more detail. And also I learned about the concept, about the procedure, about the techniques, and also we did field team exercise as a surrogate inspectors. And from the RIG 24, the CTBTO from the PTS, they also tried to demonstrate what kind of techniques, what kind of procedure that commonly surrogate inspectors do for conducting the on-site inspection. And also they encourage the participants at that time, especially from the Southeast Asia and East Pacific region, to nominate themselves through the permanent mission to join the LTP program. So as the consideration from my organization, which is National Research and Innovation Agency of Indonesia, and also with the full support from the Permanent Mission of Indonesia, then we decided to nominate me to join for the LTP on 2023. And also, since I have attended the RIG 24 in Thailand, and also I got nominated as a LTP from Indonesia, then I was invited for my next course, which it was in-field operation support. It was being held in parallel with the RIG 25 in Slovakia. So during the IVOS course, for us who already attended the RIG 24, we try to get involved in more detail. We try to build the base of operation for the surrogate inspectors, as well as we try to prepare all of the equipment for supporting the inspector during their deployment. And also we stay in touch with the surrogate inspector during their deployment, as well as how to receive them back from their deployment to go back to the base of operation. Yeah, so basically for those courses that I have already attended, both the RIG 24 and also IVOS, it was fully supported by the European Union. I'm really grateful for that. And also it specifically gives big impact for Indonesia, because like in the past few years, in the past training cycles, there was no Indonesian representative for being surrogate inspector. So that's why, like, after attending those courses, so we Indonesian, we try to be actively participate in the OSI activities. Additionally, I would like to add that I'm quite sure with the support of the European Union, it's gonna be like give a sustainable upgrade for the field equipment for the on-site inspection, as well as it helps us for the surrogate inspector to keep upgrading our skills as well as it really needed. Maybe for the additional information, I would like to share that for the participants who are currently attending here, there is a booth in the first floor, I think, in the first floor. There is a booth with a helicopter. Maybe you can go there, you can visit there to get like a brief explanation, brief information about how is the on-site inspection conducted, as well as they can demonstrate you, they can have the simulator on the helicopter right there for how they do the visual observation for the on-site inspection. I think that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Retnoashi, for sharing your personal story and training with OSI for us. Being cognizant of the time, I propose that we move to our next panelist, and if we have time, we come back with questions. I have a lot of things to ask you, but I would like now to move to the presentation of Mr. Ricardo Lopez. Mr. Lopez is an electronic engineer and currently station operator at the auxiliary seismic station AS118 in Puerto de la Cruz, Venezuela. He started his professional career at the Venezuelan Foundation for Seismological Research and has actively participated in the development of the country's national seismological network. The European Union has provided funding for repairing auxiliary seismic stations of the IMS network, and we'll hear more about that from Mr. Lopez. Mr. Lopez, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Elena. Good afternoon, everybody. Dear community present in these spectacular sites and events, and dear Secretary. The purpose of my intervention today is to present our work at the Puerto La Cruz Auxiliary Seismology Station in Venezuela. This auxiliary station is formally part of the CTBTO International Monitoring System and has made a great contribution to local, regional, and global monitoring. As you know, auxiliary seismic stations are an integral part of the IMS. They assist to detect the regional seismic event that help to refine events detected by the network of the primary seismic station and other technology that form the international monitoring system. They help discriminate events potentially generated by nuclear explosion from other events. The Puerto La Cruz seismic station is a 3-channel seismic station certificated in 2004. It plays an important role in the seismology network of Venezuela and regional and beyond. As example, I can provide that Puerto La Cruz site provide data during the test of the nuclear bomb of Republic of Korea on 2009. I started working as a PCRB, Puerto La Cruz station operation in 2004 when it was built and certificated. This has been a wonderful experience, definitely. Some people can say that it's unique due to innumerable opportunities to improve my skill in source seismology, monitoring, teamwork, budget, remote energy engineering. As a station operator, I have an opportunity to learn different important technical tasks For example, how to install a deep borehole sensor for first time, to install hybrid alternative current to direct current, how to install with dual data communication, which means the data generated in this station is transmitted to the international data center through the global communication infrastructure. In parallel, these stations send data to the national network of Venezuela. Now, I think about those times that something from the first time is a change in the way you see things better. What I mean to this, that sometimes you can, the station of Venezuela, the network has been developed in 2004. PCRB was something like example for the other sides in compared with the one that we have in that moment. So that could be better to improve our high-quality data, monitoring performance, more efficient operation, documenting, and inventory, like PCRB was in that moment and what the IMS showed us to follow. Moreover, no matter how much patience and effort are you putting on this, there comes a moment when functional problems appear. Those types of problems that sometimes cannot be easily resolved by the state senator alone because of both technical and not technical reasons. Additionally, at some point, the equipment of the station requires sustainability maintaining and consequent upgrade. So this is when important support of the European Union of the CTBTO verification regime come into play. The Puerto La Cruz station is almost 20 years on operation, has two major issues that without the significant financial support of the European Union through the CTBTO and the efficient cooperation of the CTBTO staff member, they will not have been resolved and would like still not be resolved today. Let's see why. The first example is an incident already resolved related to the upgrade of the backup power system of the station, migrating most of the equipment to direct current input power, ensuring an increasing autonomy of about 50 days. Previously, most of the stations operate on alternative current with 110 to 12 volt converters. With the upgrade, most of the converters were eliminated, the battery bank was expanded, and a 24 volt direct voltage distribution electrical circuit was installed, achieving better station performance and less disturbance during power outages. The second example related to an upgrading process that we are currently working on is a new deep borehole sensor will be installed to replace the first one, which was failed completely in 2019 after data quality started to degrade over time. Puerto La Cruz is an auxiliary station that I mentioned. It took time to find the financial and engineering agreement to achieve this sensor replacement. And of course, don't forget the time we were in pandemic, which delayed many decisions and at many levels. A new type of fence will be built since the previous fence was being suffering from the environment condition and vandalism. A new hybrid energy system, alternative current energy and direct current energy with solar panel arrangement will be installed, allowing the station to be more autonomy and considering reduced effects of power cut. All of these actions are planned to take between July and September 2023. So, as a conclusion, being a PCRB station operator allowed me to learn about new and effective seismology station maintaining methodology that has been successfully be implemented in the rest of the seismology station of Venezuela network. This has been a benefit the great institute I'm working for, FUNBISI, and help improve our knowledge about understanding of the country seismic hazard, and not less, the station has contributed to the global effort for monitoring nuclear explosion around the world. Thanks to the funds provided by the European Union through the CTBTO and the continued support of the CTBTO and its staff members, we will be able to continue implementing the treaty until we reach the moment of actually finish what we started. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lopez, for your remarks, which touch upon the crucial issue of IMS sustainment, which is high on the CTBTO's and the EU's agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our panel discussion. We are honored to have with us the Executive Secretary, Dr. Robert Floyd, who I invite to join us on stage for his closing remarks. Dr. Floyd, please.
Okay. Thank you so much. What a wonderful panel. It's a great way to see this afternoon session finish. I just want to say just a couple of things. The European Union is a full-on supporter of the CTBT and the CTBTO. And we've heard a number of examples of how that works, how that comes to pass. Politically, the EU is a great supporter. When we've shared the vision of reaching out to specific states to encourage them to ratify this treaty, maybe to sign and ratify this treaty, we saw a great example of the power of together. As ambassadors from different countries, and I got to say, this is not restricted to the EU at all, but ambassadors from different countries, leaders of different countries said, oh, I know that Prime Minister or that Foreign Minister. And they said, I'll reach out, I'll make a phone call. Sometimes it was crazy. At the high-level week of the UN General Assembly last year, I met with a foreign minister of a South Asian country. And they said, oh yes, I know the foreign minister in this other country, a country of interest. And I said, fine, we'll get you some talking points by tomorrow morning so that you can make the phone call. Saw the foreign minister the next morning, he said, I've already made the phone call. It was a waste of our talking points. But such is the power of together. And Alessandro, you and Rapalani have done a great job with Article 14, and the EU has done a great job politically in supporting these things, the power of together. We all see that lovely graphic before about NDC in a box. Technology supported by the EU, developed in France. And the great question about why don't we put it in NDCs for all? I got good news for you. It is already in NDCs for all. We are putting capacity building systems, which is hardware and software, into the hands of states that might be small states, might be developing states, that want to have the power of accessing the data and of being able to analyze the data for all the purposes that Bruno explained. This is the power of together, is to see the full benefit of this treaty in the hands of all states, no matter how large or small. The EU has been there and solid. One other area where the EU has certainly come up to the plate in financial contributions, nearly 30 million euros have been voluntarily contributed by the EU. One of the areas, some of you might not understand, but when we're talking about auxiliary seismic stations, we can't actually fund a whole range of things from our regular budget to support auxiliary seismic stations. But you know who steps up to the plate and provides voluntary funds so that states, many developing states, actually host auxiliary seismic stations? The EU comes and they support you and they support other stations, and it's just a wonderful thing, the power of together. My last point, so wonderful, ladies, to hear you speak and to hear you reflect on the opportunities and the experiences that you've had. It just warms my heart. Because whether it's our technical expert support program so that early career women in STEM and others can come to Vienna and participate in those meetings, or whether it's our mentorship program, or what flowed out of the mentorship program to give people opportunity to be surrogate inspectors. I'm so excited for our future as we see young women in science, engineering, technology, mathematics, who are being given opportunity to develop, to grow their skills, to become highly competitive candidates for jobs in our organization. It is a wonderful thing. It's about the power of together. And the final thing, Eleanor, is that we're about to have a reception after this.
Yes.
And it's the EU that is sponsoring that reception because they're committed to us being together. To the EU, let's give them a round of applause for their support for this reception. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Executive Secretary, for your vision and for those powerful and forward-looking messages. With that, I would like to express our gratitude to our distinguished panel. And we hope you have all enjoyed the discussion as much as we did, and we renew our rendezvous at the next SNT. You are now all invited to join us outside at the foyer for the reception to celebrate together this EU-CTBTO partnership. Thank you very much.